G'day, welcome back. Ross here. I've got another review. That means another James Bond review. So which one did I watch this time? This time it was the movie Goldfinger, which is a movie that I kind of regretted, not regretted. It's a movie that I have not really enjoyed in the past, if that makes any sort of sense. So let me get down to it like this. Goldfinger is a movie that everybody absolutely loves. Everybody talks about Goldfinger. It's one of the most recommended movies to watch, if you don't include Skyfall. It is a movie that has been around since 1964. Yes, 1964. But on top of that, it is a very by-the-book James Bond movie. Like when people talk about the James Bond formula, where they've got the pre-title sequence, the theme song, jump into the mission, meet the villain, have all of those things, the Bond girls, the gadgets, the Q scenes, everything like that. This movie here pretty much did that down to a T back in 1964. Other movies since then have done it better, but Goldfinger is the one that everyone comes back to. And that's not a bad thing. That's never been a bad thing. It's just that because of that, I have always found myself watching this movie and thinking, oh, like it's so, for me, boring. I would always go into this movie thinking, why am I still, can I get to the next film? I've always just wanted to every time I do my annual rewatch of the Bond films, every time I get to Goldfinger, I'm like, please just get this movie over with. However, on this viewing, it was different. I don't know what it was. Maybe because I was on the exercise bike. Yes, again, I'm rewatching all the James Bond movies as I exercise on the exercise bike and using dumbbells when I jump off the exercise bike. Now, did I enjoy the movie this time? Yes, I certainly did. I don't know what it is. I think it's because you're on the exercise bike and you're just kind of focused on the film a lot more. Whereas when I do my annual rewatches, normally I'll be having the movie on, watching it, but doing something else, but going back to the screen, but doing something else. So like with From Russia With Love, when I noticed a couple of scenes with Donald Grant in the foreground or the background, I picked up a lot of little things like that in From Russia With Love. And when it came to Goldfinger, I actually just found myself enjoying the movie a lot more. And I loved that because on this watching of Goldfinger, I realized how playful Sean Connery was as James Bond in this film. And it was brilliant because you're watching the movie and the way he's just... Okay, let me get into the plot of the film. So the movie starts off in Latin America. Doesn't specify, it's just Latin America. And Bond blows up a building, kills a guy. Then we jump into the pre-title sequence, which is... then we jump into the title sequence, which is the Goldfinger theme song, as sung by Shirley Bassey. Brilliant. This is one of the best known Bond theme songs around, and for good reason. It is phenomenal and truly holds up to this day. And if you listen to Shirley Bassey sing it now in 2025, or I heard a recording of her from like 2 years ago, her voice is still fantastic. It's phenomenal. So anyway, after the title sequence, we go into the actual movie as a whole. And what's happening in the movie is M is tasking Bond with finding out how Auric Goldfinger, that's his name, Auric Goldfinger, is getting his gold, he's smuggling it internationally. They want to figure out how. So M tasks Bond with figuring out how. And then they have this playful game of golf where we meet Goldfinger. We also meet Oddjob. And Bond has a real Like, it's a really good moment because I don't play golf, so I don't know if these rules are correct, but apparently if you start the game golf, if you start that with, say, in the movie he uses a Slazenger 1 golf ball, Goldfinger does, and he loses the ball midway through the game, midway through the holes, I guess. And Bond finds it, and then Oddjob plants a fake ball there, and they continue playing. And at the very end, Bond replaces the ball with another one and catches out Goldfinger, and Goldfinger loses. And throughout the whole scene, Goldfinger's there with his caddy, and he's so good in the role. Like, he's just waiting for Goldfinger to realise that they've switched the ball. But in the same regard, he's being so smug. Bond in this movie is so smug. And to his credit, he doesn't get killed by Goldfinger at all throughout the film at any point when Goldfinger has, like, so many opportunities to do it. So anyway, they had that playful game of golf. Bond wins. Goldfinger's pretty much onto him now, knows who he is and everything. And then Bond throws the golf ball back at Oddjob, and then Oddjob crushes the golf ball in his hand. And just before that, we've seen Oddjob throw his hat at a concrete statue, and the head just comes off. And it's fantastic. And I've jumped ahead, but you also have a scene a little bit earlier on where Bond is with a girl called, what's her name? Jill Masterson. And she's helping Oddjob cheat at a game of cards. And Bond seduces her, forces Goldfinger to lose the game and get the guy to win money. And then Oddjob knocks out Bond, paints the girl in gold, and that's that very famous picture you always see where the girl is covered in gold laying on the bed. And that's from this movie here. That's where it's from. So anyway, so after this, Bond follows Goldfinger to Switzerland, figures out what's actually happening and the way he's smuggling gold. And what it's happening is Goldfinger's actually using his vehicle, coating it with gold. I believe he's coating it with gold and smuggling that to the country, where they then break down the car, take the gold off, turn it into the ingots, and then reassemble the car, and he goes back to the US and continues that. And Bond figures it out, and then Bond gets captured, another person dies, and then Bond is pretty much, from that point on, a prisoner of Goldfinger throughout the entire movie from that point on. And like I said, Bond is so playful in this movie. He's so lucky he doesn't get killed, because he just has that little bit of information that Goldfinger's not 100% sure if he has told MI6 or not, and it lets Bond get away with murder pretty much. He just gets away with everything. Even when they travel back to the US, and that's when we meet Pussy Galore, who every time Sean Connery says pussy, it is the best. And we meet Pussy Galore. Bond eventually seduces her, and then we find out the actual plot that Goldfinger has. And the mission that Goldfinger has is called Operation Grand Slam. And what that is he wants to break into Fort Knox, where the US gold supply is. He wants to irradiate all of the gold so that it cannot be used at all, which will then in turn increase the value of Goldfinger's gold that he has, which is so smart. And I've always in the past thought, oh my God, this is such a dumb plot. And I watched it now, and for some reason I'm like, that is so smart. Because the US, like Bond says in the film, you're going to irradiate their gold supply, yours is just going to go up exponentially. And Goldfinger's like, yes, it will. The only thing I don't like is how they intend to get into Fort Knox, which is using Pussy Galore's trained pilots to fly their little planes over the Fort Knox area and spray a gas that I'm a bit confused about, because in the movie it says the gas will make them fall unconscious for 24 hours. But then also in the film, it's kind of implied that it's going to be used to kill people. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm correct or not. But I do believe it's intended to kill them. But then Goldfinger also says that after 24, like it makes them, whoever inhales the gas will make them unconscious for 24 hours. Yes. So I'm a little bit confused there. But either way, they fly these little planes over Fort Knox, knock out everyone around there, because there's like an army base, and Fort Knox is being, guarded obviously by, I think they say something like 41,000 people. And you just see all these shots of like the planes flying and then people doing stuff and then just falling down like that, and they're just going onto the ground. And you're like, okay, cool. Until about 10 minutes later, you find out that they're all faking it. The gas was swapped by Pussy Galore, and there was pretty much no harmful gas. She swapped all the little canisters that were on the planes, and they're nothing. And that's because Bond seduced her and then changed her mind about doing this. So anyway, they break into Fort Knox. They've got a bomb. Bond and Oddjob have a punch-on. The US Army comes into Fort Knox. Goldfinger's men, the US Army have a fight. Goldfinger escapes with Pussy Galore. They manage to disarm the bomb at exactly 007 seconds left, which is really well done. And then Bond's like, the President of the United States wants to thank him, jumps on a private plane. As he's flying there, Goldfinger comes out. He's defeated. Him and Pussy jump off. Bond and Pussy Galore escape the crashed plane, and then they're later rescued by the US military, army, CIA, whoever you want to call it. It's not a complicated movie. I mean, when you look at From Russia with Love, that's also not complicated. It just makes it seem that way because Spectre's manipulating MI6 to steal something so that they can kill him, to take that device back to them, and still be in good favour with the Russians. This film is kind of the same. It's MI6 is getting Bond to figure out how Goldfinger is smuggling his gold. In turn, Bond figures out that, hang on, there's an Operation Grand Slam. They're going to be doing something at Fort Knox. This is now the mission. I have to stop him. That's the film. It's very simple. The plan Goldfinger's got is almost completed. He had 7 seconds away from this thing being done, and Bond didn't actually stop it. It was one of the other guys came in and just flicked a switch, so that was fine. But I really enjoyed this film. I enjoyed it a lot more on this viewing. I don't know. And then we actually, okay, so let me go here. So in the very first Bond film, we had the introduction of the quartermaster who gave Bond his Walther PPK. That was the first time he's used that weapon in the films, so he gets the Walther PPK. In the second film, we meet Q, who is technically the same character, quartermaster, but Q, or Q Branch, as I think they refer to him in From Russia with Love. But Q, Desmond Llewellyn, comes into it and gives him a suitcase with everything that he needs in there, or a briefcase with everything that he needs, and that's the gadget of that film. In this film here, once Bond gets his mission, he is sent to Q Branch, which is like a warehouse where all the fun stuff happens. Now, I don't know if you can see, but behind me, just over there, I have the Lego Aston Martin that is used in Goldfinger. I've also got a couple of the VHS tapes behind me from that I was collecting back in the day, and I've just grabbed them off my dad, who had them in storage at his house, so I've managed to get a couple of them. And this is kind of like my nerdish little area behind me. You see some Lego, and that case back there is my watches. I can go into more detail about all those at some point. But so this is the first time that Bond gets his Aston Martin, and you know, you've got the ejector seat, you've got the rotating license plate at the front and rear of the car, you've got these side things next to the tyres that will come out and shred tires on another car. You've got the bulletproof block that comes up from the boot. You've got the machine guns at the front of the car, bulletproof glass. Did I mention the ejector seat? I think I did. I'll mention it again. You've got an ejector seat. And Bond's reaction of, you must be joking, and Q's reaction of that is, I never joke about my work, is...
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
Fantastic. That entire sequence is brilliant. And behind the scenes, you find out that Desmond Llewellyn wanted to play the part he wanted to play the part differently to what it was on screen, whereas the director goes, no, we actually want you to play the part annoyed at Bond. Like, you've got to think this guy never returns your items in one piece. I love that scene. I reckon that is fantastic. Every time I see Q on screen and he's getting annoyed at Bond, I've got a smile on my face every time. He is phenomenal. I love their relationship. As the Bond films go on, he's got a kind of different relationship with each Bond actor. But yeah, Connery and Desmond Llewellyn, they're fantastic. I love them two together. I love their scenes together. There's a couple of good ones coming up. Yeah, I really love it. Now, in regards to the music in this film, so as I mentioned, Shirley Bassey sings the Goldfinger theme at the beginning of the film, which is technically the first time the theme song is actually sung in the actual titles at the start, because in Dr. No, it was from Three Blind Mice was being used in the title sequence. In From Russia With Love, it was From Russia With Love, but it was only an orchestral version of that. You didn't hear the full song until the end credits. And in Goldfinger, this is the first time we actually hear the song being sung in that. Now, so the music in this film is phenomenal. John Barry does an absolute amazing job. And because he's now returned for his second Bond film, I was a bit worried. Because So, you've got Bond musical soundtracks. David Arnold he's done about 5 soundtracks. I believe he did Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, Casino Royale, and then Quantum of Solace. He did 5 movies. Each one of those has a different feel to the score. And it's the same with John Barry. Each one of his films feels different. It's not recycled. When you get to movies like, say, Skyfall and then Spectre, which is the follow-up, Skyfall has a really beautiful score, and then Spectre comes along and maybe does 20 minutes of new music and the rest of it's just recycled over from Skyfall. It's a lazy, boring release. No, I'll get to that when I get to that movie. This one here, John Barry doesn't do that. It is new music start to end. It uses the familiar James Bond theme. I believe it also uses the 007 theme, which is different from the James Bond theme by Monty Norman. This is a 007 theme made by John Barry. This is kind of like when the action kicks in. He made a different theme. It's good. It hangs around for a couple of films. So the music is brilliant. The directing is really good. The editing is that kind of choppiness where to speed up they chop and then cut and then go to something else. It's interesting. It's good. I like it. The car sequence when Bond is using his car, I love it. You see a lot of the gadgets being used. I even forgot there's a smoke screen at the back, so there's that too. But you see a lot of it being used, and that's what I really like. You see the car being used. You also see a GPS in the car, which is, that's like, that's pretty good for 1964. Look, this film from beginning to end, there is so much happening in this movie. I loved it. I loved him going from Latin America to London, to America, to Switzerland, back to America. It's got so many different locations. The interiors, the set design is fantastic. the famous scene when Goldfinger's got the laser and it's Bond's laying down on that table and it's going to cut through him. That's here. It's here. And it's brilliant. And this movie, I understand why people recommend and hold this film in such high regard. It's up there for me. Now, in regards to all the little stats here, okay, I am going to read them off. Again, I have everything on my phone, and yes, I did work out during this film. So, let's go to Goldfinger. Now, Goldfinger, we've got locations. First of all, I'm going to do locations. So the amount of locations we start off in Latin America, then we go to Miami, then we go to London, then we go to Switzerland, then we go to Baltimore. In America, we go to Baltimore. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations there, which is really good. I mean, it does go to America twice, but I'm still counting it because I want to count the actual areas that he goes. The ladies bedded, as we're calling it, only 2. We've got Jill Masterson, who is toward the beginning of the film and eventually gets turned into gold. And then we've got Pussy Galore, who is kind of the personal private pilot to Goldfinger. So there are only 2 there. And then for James Bond's kill count, we have one of the Latin henchmen at the very beginning of the movie. He gets, like, Bond throws a little heater in the bathtub and kills the guy. And that's when he goes, shocking, positively shocking. So here's 1. We've got 3 Goldfinger thugs in the car chase. Goldfinger thug with a gun a bit later on. And then we have Oddjob. Bond doesn't actually kill Goldfinger. So that means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Bond kills for this one. Now, as for my calories. Okay, so this one here, I watched the movie in 2 parts. I watched it at the beginning for 1 hour and 16 minutes. And then I watched the second half of the movie for 34 minutes and 19 seconds. In total, it was 1 hour, 50 minutes, 26 seconds total. And the amount of total calories I burned was 866 active calories, and total calories was 1,201. And I would also like to update, because as of the time I record this, it is Tuesday the 28th of January. But yesterday morning I weighed myself. That makes 7 days since first weighing myself. So I weighed myself exactly 1 week later, and I am down 2.4 kilos. In pounds, I will put it up on the screen somewhere, but 2.4 kilos down I've lost. And I'm really happy with that. I'm just so happy with that. I feel like I've really done well this week. I've been eating right. That's the main thing, is eating right. I'm in a calorie deficit every day. I'm having salads, but I'm still eating crap. Like, I'm having a bread wrap, you could say, with Nutella every single day. I'm having soft drinks again. I haven't had soft drinks in like 11 years, and I started drinking soft drinks again to help me with with picking at food all the time, because I've been at home the last 2 months. Every time I would walk past the kitchen and back, I would always pick on food, and that's where I put on weight. So I've stopped doing that now, and I'll have a soft drink, no sugar soft drink, so it's 1 calorie per can. I'll have a no sugar Coke at lunchtime with my massive salad, and then when I have dinner, I have a can of no sugar soft drink also. And then in between all that, I'm just smashing down bottles of water. I feel really good. I feel so good. Look, my mental health is still not the greatest. It's been a very rough 2 months. It's been a rough year before that, but I'm hoping that this week I find out some positive news and things return back to some sort of normalcy. I don't know. But all I know is that I'm not here to bring myself down. I'm creating this channel to be positive. For me, positive for people that are watching. That's why I keep saying, let me know how you're going in the comments. I will reply. I'm not a snob. I will reply. I have an Instagram account. I will pop it somewhere on the screen. You can follow me there. Yeah, this is a journey for me, and hopefully a journey for anyone else, because we're reviewing the Bond films. I'm reviewing them and you're watching them, and hopefully you're watching me. Hopefully you're watching the Bond films also, because that would be great if you want to follow along. Now, in regards to my ranking, I still hold From Russia with Love. From Russia with Love is still my number one. And I will be putting Goldfinger at number 2 and Dr. No at number 3. I honestly feel like this viewing here really turned me around with Goldfinger. I'm happy I watched it again. I'm happy I'm doing this exercise and rewatching. I had a good time. I had a really good time. So the next movie, the next movie is actually going to be Thunderball. Now, if you look up top here, I'm going to move this small Aston Martin Lego that I have. I'm going to move that. I've got From Russia with Love over here. I've got Goldfinger on VHS. The next film I'm actually watching is Thunderball. I'm going to hold that there so you can see it. Is Thunderball. This film here, I've actually already watched it. I did all that yesterday. I watched it yesterday. I worked out yesterday in Melbourne's absolutely horrendous heat that we had yesterday. It was atrocious. But I thought, I'm going to watch it. I don't care. I need to watch it. I need to exercise. So I did. It was 41 degrees yesterday. At the times when I was working out, it was between 34 and 41 degrees at the 3-hour period that it took me to watch the whole film. So yeah, I've already watched Thunderball, but that will be my next review coming out. I'm not sure the frequency of these reviews coming out. At the moment, it looks like it's about once a week. And I've got the travel vlog series going up also once or twice a week. Going to kind of continue that at the moment because I'd like to do once a week. So it's like, 25 movies, 25 weeks, it's half a year. It gives me time. It gives people time to find the channel and do things like that. So it's up to you guys. It's, if you want to help with the channel, give it a like, subscribe it, leave a comment. I'll interact back and forth. That does help this algorithm that everyone goes on about. If not, I totally understand, and I'm not pressuring anyone to do anything. But thank you anyway. If you've gotten this far, let me know your favourite Bond film down below. And maybe even your favourite Bond actor, because I'm always curious as to people's favourite Bond actor. And I do find that a lot of time it's the first Bond that people watched, but not always. It's not always. It's definitely not for me, so may not be the same for you. Apart from that, I'm going to end the review now because it's looking like it's getting, pretty high up. I'm going to end the review now. I want to thank you very much for watching. Like I said, leave a comment down below your favourite Bond film or your favourite Bond actor. And I will see you in the next review, which is, as I showed you back there, Thunderball. So thank you again, and take care.